Okay, so welcome to tutorial 3 of Odin, where I'll be talking a little bit more about types and yeah, what Odin offers. So let us go ahead and make a new main function and then look at some of the types. Alright, so some common types that you might see are string. Um, there's also integers, there's floats, which is f32, f64, f16, of course. And you can denote the same way with integers, so I16, I32, I64, and so on. You can also write U for unsigned. Yeah. So we talked about string here. There's also a C string, which is a string that you use when you interface with C functions, because in Odin strings contains both a pointer to the data and a value. So yeah, it's not the same as in C. And actually, if you ever want to see all the values, here they are. You can find them inside Odin core buildin.odin. Then if you go down here, this is all the types that Odin offers natively, right? So you have bytes, which is the same as a U8. You have booleans, you have byte 8, byte 16, byte 32, byte 64, integers, unsigned integers, runes, which is the same as a cha in other languages. You have F16, 32, 64, you have complex numbers, you have quaternions built in, you have integers, uint pointers, which is not a pointer. A pointer is usually denoted by a raw pointer, but you can convert them to a uint pointer and back and forth and do pointer arithmetic on them, because you can't do it on a raw pointer. You need the uint pointer to do pointer arithmetic. You can have strings, C strings. There's also an any type, which is a type that contains a pointer and a type ID. So you can pass it to some function, and then the function can look at the type ID and do something. And unlike in other languages, these are actually pretty valuable to have, because in Odin you have complete runtime type information, which means you can look up all kinds of stuff about the types that you pass, and we'll be talking about that in another video. Yeah, type IDs, it's a specific ID that every type in Odin gets. This includes all the basic types here, and it includes all structs that you make in the future. And then you have Indian specific types, boring stuff. And that's all the types that are natively supported in Odin. About that, there's also some structs or structures that are natively supported, and some of them overlap with the types. But yeah, there's any's, and don't matter too much about it raw. We're gonna talk about what that means. But any strings, C strings, slices, dynamic arrays, maps, SOA pointers, complex 64, yeah, so on. You can see actually these are defined here, right? So a raw complex 64 is a real and an imaginary part that are both 32 bits long, so total 64, and the same for the 128-bit complex number. Yeah. Um, you can see that these do not have an actual different body here. So yeah, I just wanted to show the body of these different things. And if this doesn't make too much sense because you haven't programmed in low-level languages too much, don't worry, we'll get to it. But for those who have, this might demystify a lot about how Odin works. So this is a string. It contains the data. It contains the length. Uh, I will note here that this is not a normal array in Odin. This is a special denotation for meaning that it's just a pointer, but you can treat it and index it like an array. So yeah, you might as well have written row pointer here, and it would be the same, right? You have a raw slice, and yeah, or just a slice, which is a array that you can't dynamically change the size of, but you can still, but it still lives on the heap, and it contains data and the length. You have a dynamic array, which is an array that you can change the size of, and yeah, that contains the data, the length, the current length, the capacity, so the maximum length, and then it contains the allocator that was allocated with, so you can free it and resize it correctly. You also have a map structure node in, which contains the data, the length, the allocator. You have the any pointer, which we talked about. The C string, which again, it's just the pointer, uh, right? You might as well have written raw pointer. Um, and it doesn't have any length, as you can see. It's null null terminated. And then you have something called an SOA pointer. And that's how all of these structures for more complex types is defined. Yeah, that was all I really wanted to show with this video. I hope it demystified some of the types in Odin and showed you what you can use them for. Very short, but yeah, hopefully you learned something.